What can you say about Dubai as a place for crypto companies and people?
It's a growing area because the demographic is also growing.
China's so anti-crypto still.
Oh, it's not.
Right?
No, not at all.
No,
Right?
wait, when did this news come out?
China has always been sort of using Hong Kong as that financial intermediary.
I had no idea that you guys were moving into the stablecoin side of things.
Oh, okay, I can trust that.
You get a lot of people approaching you and a lot of people just trying to get you and trying to pitch you on stuff.
If you've been a founder, you've always had to hustle. I have empathy for founders who are trying and who are constantly sort of pursuing whatever dreams they want to put forward. We wouldn't be the company that we are if we didn't take bets on things that seemed improbable. But that means you do have to accept crazy ideas and stuff that are out there. There's a learning that comes from every pitch as well.
And it's respect the hustle, but also know who you're speaking to.
That's true, yes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tech It or Leave It. We are back here at the Museum of the Future with MPost and Hackers Conference. And today, we have some exciting news. We are joined here by Yat Siu, who's the co-founder and chairman of Animoca Brands. Yat Siu, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You've been to Dubai multiple times now. What do you think of the region overall? Because I know that you travel all around the world, really, and you go in different places in the Middle East as well. You have exciting work you're doing with Saudi Arabia as well. What can you say about Dubai as a place for crypto companies and people?
And it feels like you spend most of your time here,
Yeah.
so why aren't you moving here?
That's yeah.
I'll get to that point later.
Yeah.
But very quickly, first, I think Dubai is a great place. UAE is very, very sort of pro-business. And I would say it's not just related to crypto, it's just generally a pro-business attitude and a very healthy relationship with money. And I think this is a really key point. If you think about the centers of entrepreneurship around the world, you need to be capitalist, you need to have a healthy relationship with money, you need to have respect for it, you need to have a certain degree of financial literacy, and you need to be excited about innovation, and you need to celebrate entrepreneurship. And that's kind of what this region does. And you can kind of see the kind of places around the world, which I won't necessarily name right now, that kind of do the opposite, who are anti-entrepreneurship or generally negative on capitalism or have unhealthy relationships with people with money, is actually the kind of place that doesn't do so well, right? And so, whether this is crypto or whether this is other areas of business or real estate or finance or whatever, it would attract other people to come there. I live in Hong Kong right now, and I've been there for, what attracted me in Hong Kong was precisely that. So I look at, slightly different weather, shall we say, because it rains a bit more in Hong Kong, but the attitude to capitalism and entrepreneurship and growth and excitement is the same. And that's why Hong Kong is so attractive, or Singapore, or other financial centers. I mean, in Europe, people might say London might be the closest example of that, right? That energy is what attracted us to these places in the first place.
I feel like Europe's kind of going away from that, and America...
UK is not Europe, I heard.
But UK too. I mean,
Yes.
everyone's coming here. But
Yes,
the US is doing great.
It's changing now,
yeah.
although it's divided, right? You can
Right.
see basically that there's one half of, or slightly more of Americans that are, what you're talking about, pro-capitalism, business, growth, opportunity, and there's the other part that seems a little more socialist-leaning and sort of against all of that, right?
I.e., you have the Democrats and Republicans.
You said it, not me. Now, I think the other thing also you have to consider is growth areas. So why are we here? Because it's a growing area, because the demographic is also growing. If you look at places like Hong Kong, what was the growth area? Southeast Asia, and particularly China, right? And what was happening? Youth, development, excitement, growth, and that's happening here now, right? Our industry, which is very much heavily also in gaming, this is a major gaming center, but your population in places like Saudi, I think it's 86% is under the age of 38 or something, and they all play games, right? And it's growing, right? And it's not just UAE and Saudi; it's also Turkey, the whole MENA region. So anyway, it's that area, and then you have on top of that neighboring, basically Africa, right? And in Africa is the other big growth opportunity. And again, could Dubai and the UAE sort of take the similar role to what Hong Kong has done in Asia as kind of like the pearl of Asia? Is Dubai possibly the pearl of this region, of MENA,
Yeah.
right?
But yeah, Hong Kong is quite influenced by China.
Of course,
right?
of
And
course.
China's so
Oh,
anti-crypto still.
it's not.
Right?
No, not at all. I think it's a misnomer. First of all, just to clarify, it's not illegal to hold crypto in China. What was banned was mining. right?
Yeah.
And the reason why why mining was banned wasn't, everyone likes, oh, they don't like crypto, and sure, they're anti-speculation, right? That's for stability reasons. But mining was taking away power. China doesn't have as much power security as other places. And so, am I going to give power to a bunch of miners that employ nobody, or am I going to give the power to a factory that employs tens of thousands of people?
But why
Very
did all
obvious
the
answer.
exchanges move to Singapore?
Okay, so this was earlier. Now, Hong Kong today has, I think, close to 10 licensed exchanges, right?
Wow.
And this wasn't, so Hong Kong has done a complete pivot, actually, as of maybe 3+ years ago. And just as a point of interest, I mean, we ourselves, with Standard Chartered, have essentially a sandbox license now with the HKMA to do a stablecoin. Now, again, I can't think of any place in the world where you have a bank, a note-issuing bank like Standard Chartered, partnering with a Web3 company like ourselves, with a license from a central bank to do something related to crypto.
Yeah, wait, when did this news come out?
This came out earlier this year, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But the thing is, of course, expect a lot of stablecoins coming from US banks. I know this region is also doing stablecoins or looking at that. My point being, though, is that that's already happening. But that's Hong Kong's role. China has always been sort of using Hong Kong as that financial intermediary. So you can't think of sort of Hong Kong and China sort of as two separate places. They are the same. And when you do transactions and business, and in this case crypto, they'll do it through Hong Kong. So just to clarify, China isn't anti-blockchain and crypto per se. They just don't want the same speculation as they do with other financial instruments. They do it in Hong Kong.
I had no idea that you guys were moving into the stablecoin side of things, because Animoca has, there's a perception that you guys are so gaming focused.
I mean, we do a lot in it still, yes, of course.
And
yeah.
so what's the plan? Like, are you guys deviating?
It's not deviating.
or
It's always been our
not?
plan around delivering digital property rights. It's just what's the most effective way to deliver mass adoption of digital property rights. Stablecoin is one of them, because if you have a bank issuing a stablecoin, most people who aren't in Web3 are going to be like, oh, okay, I can trust that, right? Because branding matters, reputation matters a lot. But of the 573 investments that we've done, it's in AI, it's in DePIN, it's in L1, it's in L2, it's very broad. It's all about how do we bring more into digital property rights and grow Web3. And of course, we're doing a lot lately also now in education.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Education is such a big factor for so many people. Recently, I did an interview with CZ, and that's his focus as well. He's done the Giggle Academy.
That's right.
I think that is definitely one of the major steps to mass adoption as well.
It is, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we're doing, we just announced this a couple of days ago, we provided $10 million of funding for basically DeFi student loans. And that's kind of interesting, right? Because imagine a student now receives a student loan over DeFi and has to repay his loan with a wallet. That's
Wow.
onboarding, right?
Yeah.
Then he has a wallet. And then what happens next is he might receive airdrops or other benefits, because, what do students do when they're in university? They take side jobs and side gigs, but the jobs of the future are going to be virtual, and they need to have a wallet for that. So it's that kind of stuff that will bring mass adoption. And there's no shortage of students that want better loans. And with DeFi, we can also create better returns, which means they have to maybe have lower interest, those type of things. And I think similarly to CZ's Giggle Academy, with TinyTap and Open Campus, they're developing different type of AI, in this case more for teacher tools. The point is, most people don't realize education is a $5 to $6 trillion market today.
Yes.
And just to give you sort of a context, student loans today is $3 trillion globally. If you can take 10% of that and put it on chain, it would quadruple TVL on DeFi today.
Wow.
Yeah, that's such a crazy way to look at it.
I just wanted to take a step back a little bit, because we're talking about so many exciting things here, and I feel like we could be here for another hour to talk about all the exciting things that you're involved in. But I've been following your story for some time, and I was just personally interested in your personal story as a founder, as a family man. You said on your LinkedIn for the longest time it says father first, right? And just your journey. I mean, I read back that your journey started at around maybe around Outblaze, when you co-founded Outblaze. And
No, my journey started a little earlier.
A little earlier
Yeah, a
than
little
that.
earlier. So first of all, I'm a child of the 70s. And I
okay.
grew up in Austria. And I got into tech with Atari in the 80s. My first computer was a TI-99.
Always gaming.
Texas Instruments.
Yeah.
Which was a glorified calculator. It was serendipitous, right? I was actually studying music. I did one of the very early music composition software that got me into tech. Then Austria didn't exactly have a computer science program, so Atari basically sent me to the US. Then Atari went under, and that was really the entrepreneurial journey where I started working for SGI. Then came to Hong Kong, in the early 90s, started one of Hong Kong's first ISPs called Hong Kong Online, which eventually led to this journey about starting Outplays later as one of the first cloud computing platforms. So I don't have to go through all that history. The point being, though, that all of this background did shape my thinking, because I grew up in Europe at the time when we still had East and West Europe, right? And my mom used to work in the Komische Oper, which was at the eastern side of Berlin. So I would cross the border and see what real communism was like. And that actually had an impact on me. And the fact that I would sort of experience communism, lived in a socially democratic country that was essentially mostly socialist, with some elements of capitalism, then went to study and work in the US, which was very, very capitalist, then moved to Hong Kong, which was capitalism steroids, no social security, all the things, all the problems that capitalism can create as well. Right there, with 60, 70-year-old people still sort of, handling the trash because there was no social security. So basically all those extremes kind of helped me shape the thinking around sort of what are better forms of governance, government, and industry, how can they participate better? And to me, that's what Web3 can actually finally offer, because we can actually offer an improved form of capitalism, which we call stakeholder capitalism. And that vision comes from really the history and experiences that I've had.
Do you take some of your learnings from Atari and Outplays and all the exciting stuff that you did back then as well? Do you still apply some of those values today when you're doing what you're doing?
The values of what the broader mission and value that I always operated on was to try to deliver something with impact and purpose.
Right.
What that looks might be different. And when you're in a younger age, maybe it's more about wealth building, because frankly, I didn't have much. So you have to at least have some kind of stability, right? And then the next journey where you start changing is, okay, you build a family, and maybe you have a little bit of wealth, then you have children, and suddenly education matters, right? Because you're like, wait a second, this education isn't quite suitable for my kids. In fact, the way we got into mobile gaming, which eventually led to Animoca Brands, which then eventually led to basically what we're doing in NFTs, actually started with us making flashcards for babies on a smartphone. The original thing that we did in 2009 was called Baby Flashcards. It was one of the biggest flashcards app and on the App Store, and it happened because I wasn't wanting to carry around hundreds of these cue cards that were like made of cardboard, so that I could basically have, a reasonable lunch with my wife. So I said, you know what? Can I just give this device that could sort of semi-automate that, so I can at least have 5 minutes? And anyone who has children that are young will realize that it's a lot of attention. And that was the flashcard service that then got us into the App Store and development, and later into games. So it's, I don't think of it as I want it to go this way. It's just more like solving a real problem that could have an impact. And then the purpose will evolve and develop over time and become maybe better and bigger, which is certainly what happened with Animoca Brands.
Wow.
Yeah, random question. Would you ever go into politics?
So not today. And the reason why is because I think politics is ineffective. It feels ineffective. I feel like as a business person, you can do much more because the world is leaning more capitalist, and therefore you can influence the world that much more. That said, I would love to support politicians. I would love people who have a similar vision in mind.
Elon Musk vibes.
Kind of, sort of, except he's more impactful and bigger, and I'm not going to say we do exactly the same thing. And also I think it's different directions. But yes, I think the Hong Kong, and I think UAE is the same. One of the reasons why these are really emerging, fast-growing regions is have a healthy relationship with your businesses. You collaborate with them. Right here, your government officials will work with business to create jobs and employment and opportunity. Same is true in Hong Kong. I'm part of the Web3 Advisory Task Force. I advise the government on Web3. That's something that is not typical elsewhere, but in Hong Kong you can have that, in Dubai you can have it. Imagine that in Europe. If you were, as a business person, having even lunch together with a politician, you're like, oh my goodness, where is the corruption? Where is the bad stuff? Not about building stuff. It's all about the negative, which is just not healthy.
It's a collaborative vibe, right? It's a collaborative nature.
You're building society together, all areas, right?
Yeah. I have one more question about just an entrepreneurship question, really. When I see you go around in a conference like this or anywhere really, you get a lot of people approaching you and a lot of people just trying to get you and trying to pitch you on stuff, right? How do you deal with, going from one place? I don't deal with it nearly as much as you guys, by the way.
I don't deal with it nearly as much as him.
Nearly as much as him. How do you, and not only do you deal with it, I watch you sometimes when I bump into you, and you actively listen, regardless of who's coming up and what the environment is, right? How do you have that energy to just have it on all the time?
And no bodyguards.
And can you tell us some crazy stories maybe, or
And in the future, can we expect to see you with bodyguards?
Yeah. So I hope not to have bodyguards.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I had that experience a couple times, and I think it's kind of unfriendly. And I understand the security aspect of it. I remember I was in Paris. I basically went on like a Lime bike or something just to go to the next meeting, because taking cars is just like a nightmare,
You
right?
took a line
So
bike?
I take
Oh,
bikes
I'd
all.
love to have seen
I
that.
take bikes all the time, right? Because I find even in Japan sometimes, because I love biking,
Right.
and you get some fresh air and you move around. It's actually quite fast. So that's kind of more my vibe. And I can't do this with a bodyguard, right? Are they going to bike after me, or what? Are they going to run? Like, how's that going to work, right?
Yeah.
And also the freedom to just navigate and talk to people, because immediately they wave people away and stuff like that. I don't think that works for me. But in terms of the energy, I think the real thing is, if you've been a founder, you've always had to hustle.
Yeah.
And there's a degree of empathy. And I'm not saying I have endless amounts of energy for it. I'm just saying that I have empathy for founders who are trying and who are constantly sort of pursuing whatever dreams they want to put forward, right? And, I'm maybe a little less tolerant on founders who just say, hey, this is how you make a lot of money. That doesn't work for me. But if you're trying to build something with purpose and impact, I'll listen to the story. And even if it doesn't work out, which most of them tend not to, we actually, it might help them inspire about something else. And I think the important thing is, if people listen, even if nothing comes out of it, you still develop hope. And that's actually the most important thing, right? Because you can't keep building if there isn't an opportunity. And I've had many cases where founders might pitch me different ideas over their lifetimes. Like literally, they came with a story, it's kind of kooky 5 years ago, and it evolved, then they started something new, but they keep trying. And then maybe, like as many of those stories were, at the end, something hits. Maybe it fit what we were looking for, maybe it was the right time, whatever it was, and then there's something you can strike together. I have relationships or people I've met 15 years ago where we're now doing business now, right?
Wow.
Because we've kept some kind of cordial relationship, but it wasn't the right time. It just wasn't the right product or the right maturity, whatever that was, right? And with innovation, sort of the amazing ideas always happen on the fringe, right? They, like if you're looking for your safe 20, 30%, 10% yield, or like something, like there's some people who live life wanting to hit 99% success rate. I get it, right? And they're also happy with, reasonable return. And that's one way of living. And that's okay, and that's for you. That's not how we live, and that's not how Animoca is set up, right? We like to swing for the fences. We like for the, we wouldn't be the company that we are if we didn't take bets on things that seemed improbable. I mean, blockchain, Web3, NFTs in 2017, 2018, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we could have done all sorts of things that seemed a lot more safer,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't have the impact today if we didn't do that. But that means you do have to accept crazy ideas and stuff that are out there. I've seen some stuff that are really crazy. I mean, like some people, some of the craziest ones was like, a wine. And I don't drink wine as well. That's the other thing. Study your object. Don't come to me with a wine pitch, because I actually don't drink wine, right? But imagine, the pitch was, you want to age the wine faster, so they would literally take the wine, drag it through the ocean for like a year, because apparently if it's under deep sea pressure, it gets older, right?
Okay.
So, I don't know if that business is still around. I thought, what a kooky business plan, but great for you if you think you can make it work. Or another one was sending wine to space. Again, I'm not your audience, but
You
hey,
get a lot of wine pitches.
I learned something too, right? I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
this is not for me, but I guess there's a market for that, right?
Yeah.
And again, there's a learning that comes from every pitch as well.
And it's like respect the hustle, but also like know who you're speaking to.
That's true, yes.
So you said like you're empathetic towards those type of founders. Have you been in a position like back when you were starting up where you had to approach
All the
founders?
time,
Like
all the
just-
time, all the time. And I used to approach all, people who, whether they were founders or investors, and back then there were less founders.
Yeah.
It was much more investors.
Right.
Today, a lot of founders become investors.
Yeah.
So I would argue that this environment is much easier today, and you can kind of see that. The amount of angel funding and seed funding that sort of people do is much bigger than it was, say, 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it was tough. I was young, and that's the other thing. Being a young entrepreneur was not a good thing, because you were treated as you have no experience. Today, if you're a young entrepreneur, you have bright ideas, you're fresh, you're
you're more
dynamic,
confident.
right? So
Yeah.
all these things have changed. So I've gone through cycles that are, frankly, from a fundraising standpoint, much tougher and really, really difficult. And so I appreciate the difficulties that people have. Again, I can't promise anything, but certainly we can give time.
I'm not
Wow.
gonna lie, we had a moment where some of our team members were super like, I mean, like you're a very reputable figure in this space, and some of our team members were so inspired by you that they were too nervous to walk up to you and tell you that. And then when they saw that, like, hey, we're collaborating on a couple of things, and we see you around, and we've been on panels before, they started opening up a little more. I was like, guys, just approach people. Like,
Yes,
it's
exactly.
okay to approach people
Go
in the
for
Web3
it.
space.
Go for it. Don't
no
hold
one's
back.
gonna say no.
Yes.
And I think it's really poor form of some of the founders that are like so like inaccessible.
Abrupt.
Yeah, because
But, yeah,
like,
but
I think
to-
a space
yes.
is built on.
It is. It's built
Yeah.
on building networks.
Yeah.
Right? But I think if a founder responds a certain way, you shouldn't take it personal. Maybe they've had a bad day too, so you just
Yeah.
don't know, right?
You
do
never
it.
know,
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, I think it speaks more about the state of the founder rather than about you, right? Because you got to do what you got to do. But of course, there are ways to improve your pitch, right? As
Yeah.
in, if you want to do a pitch, maybe know who your target is
100%.
and basically tune it, right? Or make sure it's short. Knowing that the person is busy, maybe try to give it a little more space, allow others to come in as well. Whatever that is, right? Follow up. Like these are all things. I mean, some of those, like all these stories you hear of founders, whether it's Airbnb or Uber or that kind of stuff, they had to I think there was 350 rejections before the first check came in. All that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's you just got to keep grinding.
Keep doing your thing.
Back to what you're currently doing in your projects and
Yeah.
Animoca, is there anything you want the world to know what you're building for the future? What do you want the watchers right now to pay attention to?
Yeah.
Like, where's Animoca going
Yeah.
from here?
So there's a bunch of things,
Yeah.
but maybe I'll highlight three things that we think are going to have a big impact, sort of short to midterm. So you already talked about education. We love that. Student loan financing, onboarding. That's with Open Campus. We already talked about that. Second one is digital identity. We think digital identity, in particular digital reputation, is going to be one of the most important things in the space. We don't have enough trust in Web3, but when we build more trust, then actually that's where things like unsecured credit opens up. That's
Yeah.
when we can start doing more business with each other. That's where we can give airdrops to actual people as opposed to a bot that we don't know that's just here to extract, that kind of stuff. Though that's what we're trying to do with Mochaverse. And then the third thing, of course, we're known for gaming, and we're very bullish on where gaming is going to be at the end of the year. And it's not going to be just because of Web3 gaming. The most on-chain activity today happens because of Web3 games.
Yes.
So the promise of what Web3 games has done has somewhat been fulfilled and continues to fulfill that. But why hasn't it reflected in tokens? And that's because certainly we have started to understand much better that tokens are much more, or are equally also a reflection of the broader market. So if AI is hot, AI tokens do well. It has nothing really necessarily to do whether the utility is there. Utility is part of it, but it's also what happens in the rest of the market, right? And so why is gaming going to have a big sort of run this year, we think? We think it's GTA 6. Grand Theft Auto is the biggest thing ever.
Yes.
Pricing is going to go up in gaming. Mario Kart is going for $90, which is basically 20-30% higher than what it used to go for. So pricing, gaming will finally catch up to inflation, which it didn't do before for a long time. I mean, think about it. Games were charging the same as they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And which means you'll see growth in revenue, growth in sales, and growth in gaming adoption, more VC capital coming into gaming stocks, and therefore also in gaming tokens, in particular the majors. So from our perspective, we think the end of the year will be very, very good for gaming overall.
Yeah, also the hardware is evolving around gaming as well. So.
Well, and also more consoles will be sold.
Yeah.
Switch 2 is coming out this summer, already sold out on pre-sales. And because of GTA 6, people are going to buy a new console just to play it.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was genuinely an honor to have you on. I hope you can come back at a later future. I hope you enjoyed your trip here in Dubai, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you, really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.